Catechism of the Catholic Church Life in Christ, the Fifth Commandment, following, in brief, number 2318. In God's hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of all mankind. Job chapter 12, verse 10. Every human life, from the moment of conception until death, is sacred because the human person has been willed for its own sake in the image and likeness of the living and holy God. The murder of a human being is gravely contrary to the dignity of the person and the holiness of the Creator. The prohibition of murder does not abrogate the right to render an unjust aggressor unable to inflict harm. Legitimate defense is a grave duty for whoever is responsible for the lives of others or the common good. From its conception, the child has the right to life. Direct abortion, that is, abortion willed as an end or as a means, is a criminal practice, gravely contrary to the moral law. The Church imposes the canonical penalty of excommunication for this crime against human life. Because it should be treated as a person from conception, the embryo must be defended in its integrity, cared for, and healed like every other human being. Intentional euthanasia, whatever its forms or motives, is murder. It is gravely contrary to the dignity of the human person and to the respect due to the living God, his Creator. Suicide is seriously contrary to justice, hope, and charity. It is forbidden by the Fifth Commandment. Scandal is a grave offense when by deed or omission it deliberately leads others to sin. Because of the evils and injustices that all war brings with it, we must do everything reasonably possible to avoid it. The Church prays, from famine, pestilence, and war, O Lord, deliver us. The Church and human reason assert the permanent validity of the moral law during armed conflicts. Practices deliberately contrary to the law of nations and to its universal principles are crimes. The arms race is one of the greatest curses on the human race, and the harm it inflicts on the poor is more than can be endured. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. The Sixth Commandment, Article 6. You shall not commit adultery. Exodus chapter 20, verse 14. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 18. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Matthew chapter 5, verse 27 to 28. Male and female he created them, 1. Number 23:31. God is love, and in himself he lives a mystery of personal loving communion, creating the human race in his own image. God inscribed in the humanity of man and woman the vocation and thus the capacity and responsibility of love and communion. God created man in his own image, male and female he created them. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. He blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply." When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. Male and female, he created them, and he blessed them and named them man when they were created. Genesis chapter 5, verse 1 to 2. Sexuality affects all aspects of the human person in the unity of his body and soul. It especially concerns affectivity, the capacity to love and to procreate, and in a more general way, the aptitude for forming bonds of communion with others. Everyone, man and woman, should acknowledge and accept his sexual identity. Physical, moral, and spiritual difference and complementarity are oriented toward the goods of marriage and the flourishing of family life. The harmony of the couple and of society depends in part on the way in which the complementarity, needs, and mutual support between the sexes are lived out. In creating men, male and female, God gives man and woman an equal personal dignity. Man is a person, man and woman equally so, since both were created in the image and likeness of the personal God. Sorry. Each of the two sexes is an image of the power and tenderness of God, with equal dignity, though in a different way. The union of man and woman in marriage is a way of imitating in the flesh the Creator's generosity and fecundity. Therefore, a man leaves his father and his mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. All human generations proceed from this union. See Genesis chapter 4, verse 1 to 2, 25 to 26, and chapter 5, verse 1. Jesus came to restore creation to the purity of its origins. In the Sermon on the Mount, he interprets God's plan strictly. You have heard that it was said, "You shall not commit adultery," but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Matthew chapter 5, verse 27 and 28. What God has joined together, let not man put asunder. Matthew chapter 19, verse 6. The tradition of the Church has understood the sixth commandment as encompassing the whole of human sexuality.